You know, I didn't plan on making another video about Team Sonic Racing. However, considering how much more there is to talk about, I get the distinct feeling that there's no better time to strike once again than right now. One thing I have to put out there is that if you plan on debating in the comments section about any of my arguments, I would advise watching the entirety of the video. More than a couple of people had something to say while simultaneously admitting to not making it through the whole video, or the first couple of minutes for that matter. So again, if you plan on arguing against my opinions, that's fine, just watch the whole video. Okay, so my last video was very successful, more successful than I ever would have expected. It really did turn a lot of heads, and I thank everyone who subscribed to me because of that video. It's very much appreciated, and you're helping out the channel a lot. The thing that I wanted to talk about, though, is that this actually caught the attention of Tim Spencer, who is a former director at Sumo Digital. He even worked on Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, and he was not happy about what I had to say. The only thing he specifically criticized was my lack of knowledge and understanding for the work that goes into game development. This is something that a lot of people pointed out, and I'm thinking of the line that sparked this criticism, and I'm gonna paraphrase it here. It was something to the effect of, games only take 1 or 2 months to polish, and having a 6-month delay is kind of ridiculous. I'll admit that was definitely not the smartest thing to say, just on the account that it's not true. Games get delayed for that time very often, so I apologize for spewing the misinformation that the length of the delay was an abnormality, when it clearly isn't. However, the problem I have with this tweet is the end, in which he calls my video very clickbaity with little valid content. This is a dumb statement. Anyone who watched past the first 3 minutes of the video would know that the bulk of it is me voicing my concerns about how much content there is and the lack of inspiration within the content that is present. I was simply voicing my disappointment for an upcoming video game. I truly fail to see how that is clickbait or invalid. Perhaps his clickbait comment was referring to the fact that the title of the video did not cover all of the major talking points. Yet, I did talk about why I thought the game was delayed. I simply had way more to talk about afterwards. Currently, I have retitled the video to better match the theme of what was said. Regardless, I feel like calling an opinion piece little valid content misunderstands the value of a consumer in the games industry. It also doesn't help that he never bothered to respond to my messages, which some people have pointed out. You could say it would be unprofessional of him to respond to me. Not really the best argument considering that he decided to respond to this guy's tweet in the first place. For future reference, Mr. Spencer, if you think that my arguments are poor and you want to throw around buzzwords like clickbait, you should point out specific examples throughout the video and elaborate upon them, rather than just saying it. Moving on though, there is much more to discuss. There was another criticism from a lot of commenters. It was about my conspiracy theory that explained why the game got delayed. It's one thing to disagree, but another to say that I'm factually incorrect, when that makes little sense because the entire talking point of the video was about my speculation. It was about what I think. It's kinda crazy how you people reacted because I never once claimed to have insider information. Nor did I provide any sort of hard evidence. The theory was mostly based off of, like, basic logic and reasoning. These people act like I'm some sort of false prophet, like they want to crucify me or something. Next time, I'll be sure to make it painfully obvious that it's speculation and my opinion. It turns out the game really did need that extra time. And more. More on that later, though. I would like to point out though that my argument for the delay is a little bit flawed. If Sega truly wanted to dodge competitors, they wouldn't have delayed the game so far to the point where they'd run into Crash Team Racing. It was a choice between competing with Smash and those other big releases, or another, more promising looking racing game, which is direct competition. Pick your poison, am I right? Yeah, I'll admit, it really didn't make all too much sense. But I do want to point out that I wasn't the only person that thought this. After all, this theory is based off of logic and reasoning. Great minds are bound to think alike. If you're still not convinced that this theory was a possibility at all, let me ask you something. When has Sega ever delayed a Sonic game simply on the account that it wasn't ready yet? Yeah, the answer is basically never. Even when the games are good, like Sonic Generations, you can tell that they are incredibly rushed. Especially with the game not being full price, you're really gonna try and convince people that Sega is confident in their product? I don't think so, buddy. The only instance I can think of in recent time was Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, in which Sega was not the developer, but Sanzaru Games. They were only publishing it. Since this situation meets similar conditions, then perhaps that is truly the case, that the developer has more control, and can ask for things like delays. But all I'm saying is that I'm not crazy for thinking that there's something fishy about the delay. Sega delayed a Sonic game. That isn't normal. It's only fair that we should examine their abnormal actions through a magnifying glass. That's enough about the past though, the game's out. So now I'm gonna give you a PSA. If any of you were planning on getting the PC version of this game, I implore you to cease. Sometime in April on the Steam database, it was updated that the game is going to have de novo. This is no bueno. I'm not going to give you a lesson on why DRM is bad, but basically, it gives you far less control over the games. You know, like the stuff that you purchased with your own money. It's an anti-piracy measure, but pirates always crack it. Every single time, without fail. If any executive happens to be watching this video and happens to make it this far, let me enlighten you. Cracking a Steam game that has de novo as its protection is not a matter of if, but only when. So this really only serves to fuck over the consumer. A good example is that when Sonic Mania came out, my friend bought every version, including the PC version. He had no idea that de novo was on it because they slapped it on at the last second, and he couldn't run the game. It would load and it would crash him. As soon as de novo was stripped away from Sonic Mania, he was able to play with no problems. So if de novo isn't doing its job, and it's only giving the honest paying customer problems, then why is it implemented in the first place? Yeah, you guessed it, no good reason. What's really baffling about this situation is that Sega knows we don't like it. It was on Sonic Mania, everyone got pissed and we berated them for it. They removed it. Now they're putting it on yet another Sonic game? It's almost as if they didn't learn anything at all. It's really a shame too because this is the version that I was going to purchase. But now, I can't. I won't. I will not support this anti-consumer garbage. And honestly, I don't think you should either. At least for a little bit. We'll complain, they'll remove de novo, and then we'll buy it. Remember people, they're only going to listen if you talk with your wallet. Buying the game and then complaining about it is the Achilles heel of the Sonic community. I will say that that last statement is not an opinion. That is a fact. But it doesn't end there. Another version not to get is the Nintendo Switch version. Mainly because it looks and runs like dookie. You're getting 720p at 30 frames per second, and an inconsistent 30 frames per second, might I add. Like really, you get hit by a bomb and it goes to like 2 FPS. Shit's looking like Atabat. The lighting is also really bad and look! What the fuck is that? Okay, come on, that's ridiculous. How are you gonna defend that? And you guys were making fun of me, telling me that I'm dumb, and telling me that they obviously delayed the game because it needs more time. It's in troubled development, they have to fix the frame rate. Yeah? So what is this bullshit I'm looking at right now? It is so inferior to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And no, don't damage control that since Nintendo made it, they understand the hardware better. Sure, that might be true to an extent, but Mario Kart 8 runs at 1.5 times the resolution and double the frame rate. Not to mention the textures, lighting, and shadows still look better. And they got a 6-month delay. There is no excuse for such a shoddy execution. So don't act like there is, 'cause there ain't. I wish it would end here, but it doesn't. Look at these crazy ass physics glitches that my friend ran into.
What the fuck just happened? And I lost it. Michael, did you hit the same thing?
Yeah, the thing like flipped out.
And another one.
Oh my god,
what the? Brandon? Are you kidding me?
Come on, I can't move. Okay.
So, if you can get past all of that, the game's pretty good. As I've predicted. It's interesting, everybody's acting like it's some surprise that this game came out pretty good. And I'm just sitting here like, are you kidding me? They reused an engine of previously fantastic games. You play this game and you start doing tricks and drifting and stuff, and it's not similar. It's exactly like Transformed to a T. Could you imagine if this game came out with like fundamental design flaws? That would be like if you fucked up cereal and milk. It's just not gonna happen. My complaint in the original video was not if the game was bad or not. You can very easily see that since this is not a new game, they're just repainting the wheel of the last games. How could it be bad? I was saying that I don't want it to be good. I want it to be excellent. I was looking for a strict improvement from the last game, and that's not what we got. I don't think people quite understand the value that was the transformation mechanic. There was so much depth that it brought. When you're in the air and about to collide with geometry, you can dodge and get a boost from that. So it quite literally rewards risky play. It's not even just little things like that. To accommodate the vehicle changes, the tracks actually change from lap to lap to lap. Speedrunners and casual players alike have to route by the lap, not by the track. Don't lie. Pretty much every racing game you've ever played is you finding the optimal route of the track and then just executing that same thing 3 or 4 times. It's not inherently bad by any means. These are just how racing games are. But this is what made All-Star Racing Transformed special. This game is a prime example of innovation for an entire genre. To take this out is a huge blow to TSR, because it's not a gimmick, it's an evolutionary mechanic. That would be like if in Sonic Mania you couldn't spin dash. That's clearly no bueno, so why is this okay? The team gimmick? I will admit, actually playing the games with friends and timing the ultimates and things like that, that's kinda cool, but it's hardly a replacement for the transformation gimmick. One of my friends actually told me that this game is better than Transformed, but only under the condition that he's playing with friends. If he's going solo, he would rather play Transformed. That's fine, it makes logical sense. My question is, why can't we just have both? This game has been getting 8s across the board, but it could have gotten a 10. This is how. Instead of removing mechanics and removing the depth of the game, they should only add to it. You might say that's difficult for developers, and it is, but they should be able to compensate because look how much content they removed. There's literally half the amount of characters from the last game, and hardly much else to do besides campaign and online matchmaking. Remember that interview I talked about? Izuka-san was asked why they took out the transformation gimmick. He said they removed the mechanic because they wanted to focus on content. This game has no content. But to be honest, even if it had a lot, it still wouldn't do it for me. And it probably wouldn't do it for you either. What would you rather have? An in-depth game with a lot of complexities, a high skill cap? Or a simpler game that sure has a lot to do and a lot to choose from, but is mostly just fluff and not real substance? I personally prefer the former. As far as custom parts goes, it's nothing special. Some say that it's far more in-depth than Mario Kart 8. Don't listen to that crap though. Sure, there's no paint jobs or horns, but in terms of parts that change the actual gameplay, it's 3 for 3. So I don't know what people are talking about. In addition, the Crash Team Racing remake got its own customizable part trailer. It looks basically just as in-depth. You see, it's not special, anyone can do it. What comes down to it is that customizable parts in a kart racer is not an achievement, it's a standard. It's 2019 and this is supposed to be a basic feature in these sort of games. Nuff said. So the verdict? I think this game is a low effort, low budget title that was made to butter up people from the disappointment that was Sonic Forces. And the thing about it is that all evidence supports this claim. The game reuses a previous game's engine, and it's at $40, so they know it's low budget. Yeah, get wrecked, fanboys. I will be buying this game, though. Used. As of right now, Sega does not deserve my money. When they do make games with a lot of love and potentially decades upon decades of replay value, like, I don't know, Sonic Mania, I bought that game 3 times for 3 different platforms. Why? Because Sega deserved the money. I don't believe Sega deserves the money here. So that's why I don't think you should buy this game. It's my personal opinion. Obviously, you can buy the game if you want. It's your choice after all. You don't have to listen to some random guy on the internet. But yeah, hopefully I do not have to talk about this game again. Probably not. Yeah, stay tuned for upcoming videos. Follow MikeyMike on Twitch. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks for listening.